Hi, this is Ruth, and this is my presentation for my animation negotiated production module, which is also my last semester studying animation. First, I combined myself a table of contents to showcase what exactly I will be talking about during this presentation, and at first, we will be looking at the pre-production part that was last semester. I will be talking about everything I did, and during the second part, I will go into the challenges that I faced during the said pre-production and how I came to solve these challenges. After that, I will be taking a look at what I have planned to work on next and what my approach right now looks like compared to my first semester. I will also be talking about my schedule, what I will be working on first, and how do I plan to proceed, and further analyzing the time frames that I set for myself. Lastly, I will be adding any final thoughts I had during the making of this presentation and what personal goals I hope to achieve during the end of this module. During pre-production, I was able to follow my own schedule quite well. I successfully created characters that fit the story I had in mind, planned a storyboard to further indulge myself into what exactly I wanted to happen in my film, and chose an audio that would match the atmosphere I wanted it to have. Finally, I also drew the animation itself, as well as some small animation tests and some background planning. Next, I wanted to talk about my finished character designs and what brought me to these final designs. At first, I was only really confident of my first character design, which was Jamin, and you can see him in the first picture on the frame. I was feeling a little bit unsure how to present the two other characters in my film, but after thinking about my initial ideas for their designs and simplifying them, I was able to create a simple yet eye-catching design for each of them that should be easy to add to my cleaned up animation. Some huge inspirations were certain VTubers such as Zuha and Kuzuha, who I also mentioned in my blog previously. Self-evaluating my choices was very important as it allowed me to carefully think of the designs I wanted to work with. I knew adding too much detail might end up being difficult to animate within the time we have to work on everything, and I did not want this project to feel overwhelming, but rather something fun that will help me improve and achieve good end results, such as giving each character their own microphone by taking inspiration from real idols, picking and combining designs that would be memorable and eye-catching. For backgrounds, I started thinking about the colors that would work well with the palettes chosen for each character, and a good childhood favorite, Danny Phantom, ended up working as a great guideline, which I plan on using as an inspiration during my main production as well. I plan to use simple shapes and cell shading, something that will be able to create the atmosphere that I want, but still be nothing too complicated, as backgrounds are not my main focus for the animation. Some challenges I went through during my pre-production were planning and choosing my demographic audience. I had to think about who do I want to enjoy my music video and how do I make that clear through my work. I ended up wanting to combine an energetic song with characters that each have their own unique personalities and make it something that many who generally like 2D idols or animated school idols might enjoy. I also had to do some troubleshooting with switching between programs to choose what was the most comfortable for me, but luckily I managed to get all that sorted out fast. I had some difficulties choosing the approach for my animatic, as at the beginning I was still uncertain whether I wanted my story to come across as more straightforward or if an abstract way of storytelling was more appealing. I had several different songs in mind for both ideas, but in the end I realized that the most important part was for me to focus on character animation, and for that reason I chose a more direct approach. It was important to think about what kind of a song would bring up their personalities better, and I'm happy with the decision that I made. I also included a link to my animatic. Right now, I don't have many new ideas for how I want to work on my project that greatly differ from my first semester, and I plan on keeping my workflow steady with this in mind. I have created a new schedule that I'm hoping won't prove to be too overwhelming, but overall, I'm going to be working on this project each week the best that I can. For composition and programs, I have planned a clear plan for myself. I want to use mainly simple shots with a minimal amount of complex shots and lots of close-ups and medium close-ups from the eye level to really capture the character's expressions from up close. Zoom ins and outs are important, just like the movement of the camera to highlight action. After looking at different techniques, I chose to work with panning, tilting, dolly zoom ins and outs. The latter I want to use especially when characters are shown on the stage, showing them from different angles and in different types of frames. And just as I mentioned in my first presentation, I still plan on using Clip Studio Paint EX for animation and adding audio. I will be using Toon Boom for certain parts of the animation as well, as I found that these two programs work well together. And for Procreate, I will be mostly just using it as an additional tool, something that I can use to demonstrate my ideas in a sketch format if need be. For my schedule, I created one that I believe will be realistic for me to follow, but in case something happens, I will still be easily adjust it to my liking while still producing work effectively. I want to allow myself time to work in my other modules too, as I see this one as the most time consuming, and with this schedule in mind, I see this to be possible. During work 2, I plan to submit my final proposal form and start working on backgrounds. During week 3, I continue working on the backgrounds and preparing for my Russia screening. During week 4, I will be attending Russia screening and start cleaning up my animation. The same will be during week 5, and during week 6, I hope to start working on key animation frames. During week 7, I am going to be focusing on key animation frames again, and after that I will be preparing my final schedule for finishing my work and start adding color. From week 9 to week 12, I want to get my backgrounds all done and finish coloring. And lastly, here are some of my final thoughts. Like I said previously, I'm hoping to be able to stick to my own schedule, and considering that this semester should have a successful start, I believe this to be possible. I have my own ideas sorted out, and I hope that it won't need any huge adjustments to be able to start. I'm looking forward to learning more, and I find that the main production process for me personally is usually the period when I learn the most, as it always brings up new challenges that I will be then solving and finding new solutions and tricks to do so. By the end of this module, I hope to have created good work that I will be happy to include in my final portfolio and present it to others. That's all this time. Thank you so much for listening.